Ludlam.
Welcome to your first estimates, Dr. Switkowski.
Nice to see you in the flesh, Senator Ludlam.
Yeah, indeed. And thanks for the answers that you've provided so far. This has been quite helpful. I want to just track through what you consider to be some of your objectives. If you feel I'm getting political, by all means, direct me to the Minister. But I'm trying to get a sense, I think in your brief opening statement, which I watched on the monitors, you said something along the lines of all options are on the table as far as your reviews are concerned. I'm just trying to tease out what that actually means. If the result of your reviews comes back that actually a wholesale open access fibre to the premises network is the most economic option, are you honestly of the view that you'd be free to pursue that course of action?
Well, I'd certainly be in a position where I'd have to prosecute that case pretty energetically. That kind of conclusion would run against the evidence everywhere else, but we'll wait to see what the analysis produces.
I could contest that statement at length, but I'm not sure that it's worth it. But you would be open to, I guess the distinction I'm trying to draw out here is that the coalition government took a fairly a reasonably well-defined policy to the last election. Unlike a lot of other portfolio areas, you knew what Mr Turnbull was going to propose. For you to then come out and say you've got complete flexibility as to the model the company pursues seems a bit at odds with government policy, I would have thought.
Look, it is my role to interpret government policy, but my recollection is that when in opposition, the Minister made the point that there would be a review and that the review would inform decisions around the technology choices and the nature of the rollout. Right. So, I take that as my writing instructions. Okay.
Well, we'll see how that pans out. Is it your understanding, though, that you're still building, or you're still building a wholesale-only network? Yes. There's no proposition here that NBN would become vertically integrated in any way?
None.
Okay. Do you believe that it's your job to deliver a uniform national wholesale price? No matter where you are in the country for various service
subject
categories.
To being reminded of something I'm not aware of, the answer is yes.
All right. You can correct the record later if you're not comfortable with what you've.
But uniform as in, the reason I hesitate is it uniform as in quality of service, uniform as in pricing? I
asked about price. Quality of service, you're a bit limited. I'm presuming no matter what technology choices you end up with, you're still going to have a kind of graduated response depending on how far you are from a capital city. The model that the previous government pursued that said across the categories of speed and service quality at the lower end of the spectrum, the price would be the same no matter where you were in the country. Is it your expectation or your understanding that it's your job to still deliver that, albeit with a different technology mix?
Yes.
Okay. Is it your understanding that the NBN Co will retain the natural monopoly aspects that this Parliament debated ad nauseum for a period of about 2 years, or are we going to see a period of infrastructure competition at the wholesale level?
Look, I consider that a policy question. That is a reasonable question to ask.
Thank you.
But I've been given no instructions other than your introductory comments.
So that one's you've been pretty clear on the first two. On the third one, it's maybe, not sure.
It's not that it's unsure today, but I think it's a reasonable question that will be asked and debated. Okay. But it is a policy question for the government, really.
Senator Fifield, do you want to take that one?
I'll take that on notice for Minister Turnbull.
Thank you. Is it, and again, I'm honestly not certain whether to direct these to you, Dr Switkowski, or to the Minister. Is it your understanding that Telstra is to remain structurally separated under whatever avenues, technology avenues you choose to pursue with NBN Co?
Well, that I think is for the Minister.
Senator Fifield.
Sorry, Senator Ludlam, I was just talking to one of the officers, but some of the questions that you're asking are ones which are probably better able to be addressed later this evening when the department's at the table, because policy issues, I guess, are usually channelled through that part of the program. But anyway, just reminding you that that opportunity is there later tonight.
I suspect if I put it to them, and I may not be around that late, I might be elsewhere, you'd ask me to take it on notice. So could I maybe just shortcut that process and put that to you now?
Sorry, just
whether
was
it's
talking to me while you're
anticipated
asking that question.
So when Mr Turnbull took over from Senator Minchin as communications shadow spokes a couple of years back, Mr Turnbull changed Coalition's policy quite sharply that Telstra should be structurally separated, wholesale and retail arms separated out. I'm keen to know whether that is still government policy or not.
As I say, I think it's better to address that later in the evening.
Thank you. I may not be here, Senator Fifield. Can you take that one on notice? Thank you. Is it still anticipated that TUSMA would retain its independent status as the delivery mechanism for the USO in this brave new world that we're entering?
Yeah, it's
Another one?
outside my area of knowledge, Senator Ludlam, as the Minister representing the Minister.
Okay. I'm interested to know, I guess, if you can point me to a document that already exists in the public domain, what's this current government's policy on the universal service obligation? That's for on notice.
Yeah, we'll take that on notice or later tonight.
Thank you. When the expert panel,
not being difficult, but some of these questions, officers from the Department of Communications itself would be in a position to assist with.
All right, great, thanks. When the expert panel was reviewing the first iteration of the NBN, now going back quite a number of years, the panel came back with the finding that a fibre to the node network would be effectively obsolete on the day it was built, and that you would need to eventually, or potentially quite reasonably soon, need to overbuild the nodes and go all the way to the premises. You'd be ripping the nodes themselves and the pillars out. What's your understanding of the upgrade path for a fibre to the node network once it's built? How much of that network architecture is reusable in a fibre to the premises world?
Well, again, that's a fair question. That is in front of the review at the moment. We'll see what recommendations they make when the drafts begin to be written.
That's not really a review question, it's a basic technology question. I mean, irrespective of what the review finds, what is your understanding of the upgradability of a fibre to the node network if you want to go all the way to the door?
I think before that question, you'd have to, I think, contemplate what is the outlook for a fibre to the node architecture, and at which point and for what reason would an upgrade be advised. And so there you get back into the discussion we had with Senator Lundy about what is the outlook for an FTTN network, and can it for a considerable time satisfy the needs of Australian users. And the upgrade path for a fibre to the node network takes you through the 10 to 25 megabit per second to 80, and then if you want to go to GFast, hundreds of megabits per second in the years ahead. So maybe I would rephrase the question: do you think for the next decade, which is probably as far as one can think reasonably, there will be a situation where a significant upgrade from FTTN to FTTP will be justified and required? There is a good chance the answer to that is no.
Okay. You're going to have to get your skates on to deliver a national fibre to the node network by 2016. You've been in the technology industry a long time. You're familiar with Moore's law and its equivalent for data transfer rates. You're never going to be able to provide a gigabit service on copper, for example, like in no one's book.
I understand why you would say that, but it is interesting that at the moment some copper-based technologies are being demonstrated that are getting very close to gigabit per second. I agree, it's impressive and is yet to be built out in scale. On the other hand, I'd ask the question, what's significant about a gigabit per second?
The same thing that was significant about upgrading to broadband 10 years ago. The fact that I'm really glad I'm not stuck on a dial-up service, that the government didn't strand me on a network that would only accommodate dial-up speeds. I'm glad that didn't happen. And I fear that that's what we're going to be building over the next 4 or 5 years, is the equivalent of stranding the 70 or 80% of the population of the country on dial-up. So that's the significance I see.
Look, again, I understand the analogy that you're drawing. I don't think it has as much validity in this decade as it had 2 decades ago. And at the moment, you need to stress a whole lot of assumptions to demonstrate how a normal household would use 100 megabit per second broadband service through the various devices and applications that are normally found in today's and tomorrow's household.
Yeah, but just a moment. If it's 1995 and I'm enjoying my dial-up service and you ask me to anticipate what a household would do with a 25 down, 5 up service, I'm not going to have the faintest idea. Those services haven't been invented in 1995. So anyway,
no, but
I'm labouring the point.
May I take that point, because I think Senator Ludlam raises quite an interesting point about anticipating the future. In 1995, neither you nor I could have picked what was relevant in this industry in 2005. I know that for a fact because I was around at the time. And in 2005 or 2003, we would have missed 2013 by a very, very wide margin. We've got to be very careful about making decisions today that have associated with them enormous costs and enormous execution challenges, because we think that in 10 years' time there are going to be particular applications that will require just that form of delivery. Reasonable people may do that, but you'd better wrap around that a whole lot of ability to be flexible and to change your mind almost annually.
We might have gone a little bit off topic, and this is maybe a conversation that would be better taken offline. You'd be aware that the network that you're designing needs to allow householders or small businesses, say, who want a fibre service all the way to the premise to be able to order it up. Is that the case?
I've seen reference to the fact that there will be a market for that, and that
user pays.
There will be a provision for NBN code to provide an all-fibre service at a cost.
Yeah, so it's user pays for what was up to the point where there was a change of government would be delivered to every household. That's a shame, isn't it? There's been a bit of speculation in the tech press that you would potentially adopt part of Telstra or all of Telstra or Optus's HFC network as part of your core network. Is that something that you're contemplating?
It'll be a consideration in this review to see the appeal or otherwise of including that in the larger mix of technologies.
Okay, that's part of the review. And are you also going to be designing, or during the course of the review, designing processes for householders who want to pay for the network, since it won't be delivered as of right?
No, that's in the normal course of business. Okay. So those processes will be designed.
Okay. Now, there's been a fair bit of conversation back and forth about the condition of Telstra's copper. So can you provide for us your estimate of the remediation costs, not the OPEX, but the remediation costs of bringing Telstra's network up to the sort of standard that you're going to require?
Look, I could have a stab at it, but frankly, this is now getting into commercially sensitive areas that will
you're spending taxpayers' money, Dr. Switkowski.
I'm very, very alert to that, but it will be part of the discussions that we have with Telstra.
But I mean, I could go to the financial press and quote you various estimates of that are floating around there. Just give us a ballpark figure and we won't hold you to it.
Well, again, I wouldn't do that, and I'm not sure how well informed these estimates could be, but maybe they are.
Well, you could help inform the debate by giving us your estimate.
Senator Ludlam, it's too early in the process of engaging with Telstra for me to be able to even make a judgment, A, about what the numbers are, and B, about the appropriateness of disclosing them.
So there's going to be a remediation cost, which I'm presuming you will book as CapEx, and then there's going to be every single year maintaining that network. If I ask you what your estimated OPEX for maintaining that network in perpetuity would be, you'd give me the same answer, I guess.
Yeah.
You would, okay. So there are Telstra, the piece here that ran in the Australian on Tuesday the 19th, where spokespeople for Telstra are sounding a little bit wounded, saying please stop trashing our copper network, it's actually in decent shape. It doesn't rot. So it's much the same as it's always been and always will be. How old are the oldest parts of Telstra's network?
Oh, several decades.
How many are several?
40 years, 50 years.
Okay. And you're confident that all parts of that network can be brought up to a standard where you could potentially deliver something close to a gigabit service down the track that would be competitive with a fibre to the home?
Now you're verbally me, Senator Ludlam.
Don't ever let me do that.
And I think I said this to Senator Lundy, will 100% of copper customers get maximum speeds? No.
What percentage are you shooting for?
Again, this is a really important question that is being addressed and hopefully will be resolved by this review.
Okay. Did you advise the Coalition on the NBN policy that it took to the election before the change of government on September 7?
No, I did not.
You did not. When were you first approached by Mr Turnbull or anybody from the Coalition and first canvassed the possibility of you taking up this position?
My recollection of the process was earlier this year, probably around about April. I was one of what I presume was many people that the opposition minister was consulting with around NBN Co, seeking views, etc. Not particularly around taking up a position at that stage.
Seeking views. So in the question I just put to you previously, you said you had never advised the Coalition on the policy it took to the election. So what kind of views were being sought, if not policy views?
Oh, one has conversations with politicians about matters all of the time.
Nothing to do with the NBN policy, though?
No. Mr Turnbull and I go back a ways. He has a large range of interests. I had been out. I mean, it would have been presumptuous of me to offer views on NBN policy when I had spent the previous several years at some distance from the telecom industry.
Well, it sounds as though you were invited
Chair,
to... Yeah, go on.
We're getting close to, well, we're probably beyond that which falls within the responsibility of the NBN Co. I think it's important that questions relate to the agency which is before the committee.
Okay.
Yes, Minister, I agree with you totally, and I was just listening very carefully on how far you're going to go to the edge there, Senator Ludlam. So onto the issues, please.
I appreciate
not the personalities.
All right then. So, Dr. Switkowski, when was the matter of your candidature for chairing NBN Co first raised with you?
Senator Ludlam, we're still on the same track.
I mean,
but nothing I'm asking is out of order.
Minister, you got the call. Go ahead.
No, but this estimates is to look at the NBN Co. It's to discuss matters to do with the rollout program of the organisation, to do with the budget and finances of the organisation, and I think we're getting beyond those now.
Yeah. Minister, and with your discretion, Chair, if we go back to estimate sessions past, we will find numerous instances of Senator Birmingham, Senator Betts and others quizzing Mike Quigley about his background in the telco sector, his process of his appointment. I don't think I'm trespassing.
The background is a very good point you make. Not when did you talk to such and did you help with policy and so on. His background of Mr Quigley's in his expert field.
Well, that's what I'm asking about here. I don't. If you can describe from exactly why it would be out of order, was the possibility of you chairing the company raised before the change of government on September 7, or did you first hear of it after? If you want to keep it non-specific.
The possibility was raised.
Possibly was raised before.
Oh, in very general terms, absolutely, and it was made clear that it was one of several options.
Okay. What were the other options that were raised?
That's not an area I go into.
Yeah.
All right.
Continue on.
Yeah, that's okay. I discovered what I wanted to discover. What did you have to do, if anything, and maybe you were completely unconnected from the process, but just describe for us the process of the appointment of Mr. or Professor Henry Ergas as a consultant as part of the review. Did you play any part in his appointment?
As best as I know, he's not a part of the review.
He will be conducting, or he's one of the parties conducting cost-benefit analysis of your various models of the company.
That is a separate review.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the personnel that government intends to appoint to that review.
Are you proposing that there's a separation, that the government has responsibility? I'll put these questions to the department later. Did you play any part in Professor Ergas's appointment to that review?
Well, can I just pick up an earlier point?
Sure.
We have this strategic review underway. That is the focus, my focus, and that of the board. There will be parallel reviews that the government has promised that I'm kind of generally aware of, but not involved.
Okay.
And not being consulted upon, other than to be alert to whether the work that goes on in our review might serve as input into these other reviews in order to be efficient. So I expect that I'll be approached at some stage, but it hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet. All right, that's fair enough. And it's consistent with what's out there. So you had no prior engagement or knowledge of Professor Ergas's involvement in the cost-benefit analysis that's running in parallel?
Is he involved?
You're asking me? I think we're meant to ask the questions.
Chair, if there's a particular review or a particular process that
You've got four
does not fall within the responsibility of NBN code, then I think it should be posed somewhere else.
I'll put it to the department
I think the
later.
Chairman, Senator, has answered it very well when he said, is there a review?
But it wasn't an answer, it was a question. If it's nothing to do with you, I'll let it go. I won't waste your time. If that's what you're saying, you have nothing to do with the process of the cost-benefit analysis that's being conducted in parallel to the review that you are right in the middle of.
Thus far, I've had nothing to do
Fine.
with it.
Okay, that's all. That's fine.
But that shouldn't be interpreted as saying that there might not be some crosstalk down the line.
I would kind of hope there would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you aware that Professor Ergas is the only one, to my knowledge, who actually has conducted a cost-benefit analysis into the NBN?
No, I'm not aware of that.
He did it on his own time, I understand, and his results showed that you shouldn't build it at all. It was a fascinating piece of work. So
amazing, the previous government wouldn't have a cost-benefit analysis on the project.
Watch out
anyway.
For him. I think I'll leave it there, Chair, and I might come back a little later.
Okay, thank you, Senator Ludlam.